Hello. Feel free to relax, and we hope you have a soothing sleep. In the land of Latveria, all was calm on the surface, but beneath the tranquility lay a mind that never rested. Victor von Doom, sovereign of the nation and the most brilliant man to walk the earth, had isolated himself within the grand halls of Castle Doom. Surrounded by towering spires and cold, gray stone, the castle overlooked the vast landscape that was his kingdom, where every citizen lived in quiet obedience, knowing their ruler's protection was as absolute as his control. Within his vast inner sanctum, Doom worked tirelessly in his private laboratory, an elaborate blend of ancient arcane symbols and cutting-edge technology. His armored fingers moved swiftly over holographic schematics and runes of forgotten languages. At the center of the room sat a large, imposing structure, a vault-like container, latched shut with an intricate locking mechanism of both magical and mechanical nature. This was the Cradle of Eternity, a relic said to have been crafted in the dawn of the universe. The artifact, though powerful, was incomplete. Doom had learned of the cradle from the darkest tomes in his collection, books bound in demon leather, inked with the blood of sorcerers long dead. These volumes told of a device capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality. With it, one could rewrite the laws of time, reshape existence, and bend entire worlds to their will. But the cradle's potential remained dormant without its missing half, a companion piece lost to history. Until now, in the depths of Castle Doom, hidden from prying eyes, Doom had long sought the location of the cradle's other half. The search had spanned years, consuming vast resources and forcing him to make deals with beings even he dared not fully trust. His calculations led him to one conclusion: the other half of the cradle rested not in the hands of some ancient sorcerer, nor in the ruins of forgotten civilizations, but within Avengers' Tower, hidden in plain sight. The Avengers, those self-styled protectors of Earth, had unknowingly guarded the very thing that could grant Doom the power to rule not just Latveria, not just Earth, but the entire multiverse. The irony was not lost on him. Doom's brilliant mind had already begun to weave a plan, one that would require precision, patience, and manipulation on a level even the Avengers could not anticipate. Sitting atop his throne within the castle's grand hall, Doom silently activated a communication relay, opening a direct line to one of his many assets. The screen flickered to life, revealing a shadowed figure. An Agent Doom had carefully planted within the ranks of Earth's mightiest heroes. The agent, deeply embedded, had grown close to the Avengers, moving within their circle of trust without raising suspicion. Now, at Doom's command, the agent would ensure the relic made its way into his hands. "You will proceed as instructed," Doom's voice rumbled from within his mask, metallic and regal. "When the time comes, you will act. The Avengers will never know what hit them." The screen darkened, and Doom stood, gazing out of the massive window that overlooked the sprawling Latverian capital. Thunder rolled in the distance as dark clouds gathered, casting long shadows across the land. It was as though the very skies mirrored the storm brewing in Doom's mind. He knew the Avengers would not sit idly by once they learned of his intentions. They would come to stop him. They always did. But Doom was prepared. As the days passed, subtle tremors began to shake the global community. Latveria's borders became more guarded, its military forces heightened, and rumors spread among world governments of a new weapon being developed within the walls of Castle Doom. In response, diplomatic channels buzzed with concern. The United Nations convened urgent meetings, and whispers of sanctions against Latveria grew louder. But Doom, ever one step ahead, allowed the rumors to spread. They served his purpose. He needed the world's attention to be focused on Latveria, to pull their gaze toward his kingdom and away from the true prize in New York. Far away, in Avengers' Tower, the heroes were beginning to sense the growing tension. Tony Stark, ever vigilant, had intercepted strange signals emanating from Latverian satellites. The encrypted transmissions were unlike anything Stark had seen before, but he couldn't shake the feeling of familiarity. The energy signatures, the coding patterns, they were distinctly Doom's handiwork. Yet, Stark found no immediate threat. Was Doom simply posturing, making his presence known to unnerve the world? Or was this the precursor to something more dangerous? Captain America, always the tactician, began preparing contingency plans. He had fought Doom many times before and knew better than to underestimate the man's brilliance. Doom was not a villain who acted without purpose. His moves were calculated, and every battle was but a piece of a larger strategy. The Avengers would be ready for anything, or so they thought. As Doom's preparations continued, a sinister smile crept beneath his iron mask. He moved through his castle, commanding his Doombots to construct new, advanced fortifications. In secret, he enhanced his personal armor, upgrading its systems to counteract the Avengers' most powerful weapons. In the deep dungeons of his castle, Doom even performed dark rituals, drawing power from arcane sources, bolstering his magic to complement his intellect. The final piece of his plan fell into place when Doom triggered an ancient Latverian artifact buried deep beneath his castle. The item, pulsing with cosmic energy, released a powerful signal that disrupted the global communication network for a brief moment, just long enough for Doom's sleeper agent to go unnoticed as they prepared to retrieve the missing half of the cradle. And so the stage was set. Doom sat in his throne once more, waiting, his hands steepled before him as he gazed into the void. The Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes, were unaware of the storm that was about to descend upon them. They would come for him, but it was all part of the plan. For in Doom's mind, the battle was already won. Victory was merely a matter of time. In the heart of New York City, Avengers Tower stood tall, a gleaming monument to Earth's mightiest heroes. Inside, the Avengers were carrying out their usual routines, unaware of the shadow growing over them. Tony Stark, clad in his armor, was in the tower's central hub, deep in thought as he analyzed encrypted data streaming from Latveria. The signal that had caught his attention days ago still puzzled him, but now there were ripples in the digital sphere, subtle yet unmistakable signs that something larger was brewing. Latveria's been quiet for too long, Tony muttered to himself, pacing in front of several holographic screens. His fingers moved quickly, isolating energy readings that seemed to shift and pulse in patterns. He recognized Victor Von Doom's handiwork, the precision, the signature energy frequencies. Stark's gut told him this was more than just posturing from Doom. Something was coming, and it was going to be big. Captain America walked in, his face etched with calm determination. He had been monitoring global tensions and was fully aware of Latveria's increasing militarization. He stepped beside Stark, watching the fluctuating data with the practiced eye of a soldier who had seen countless battlefields. "Anything new?" Steve asked. "Same signals, but I've run them through every system we have. Doom's cooking something, and he's keeping it just out of sight. I can't tell what it is, but it's definitely his signature." Steve crossed his arms, contemplating the implications. Doom was no ordinary threat. Whenever the Latverian monarch moved, it was with surgical precision, and each action was part of a larger strategy. It was only a matter of time before he revealed his hand. "I don't like it," Steve said. "We should be ready for anything. Call the team together." Within minutes, the Avengers assembled in the main meeting room, the circular space buzzing with the collective energy of Earth's most powerful heroes. Thor, god of thunder, stood with his hammer in hand, his blue eyes burning with quiet intensity. Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, leaned against a wall, her sharp gaze never leaving the conversation. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, sat nearby, her hands resting uneasily in her lap as if sensing something dark on the horizon. Each member of the team was braced for the inevitable conflict, their history with doom enough to keep them on edge. Latveria's been ramping up military activity. Steve began, addressing the group, and Tony's picked up some strange signals from their satellite systems. Doom's up to something, and we need to be ready. Thor, who had faced Doom's might in the past, nodded gravely. Doom is no ordinary foe. His knowledge of both science and sorcery makes him as unpredictable as he is dangerous. We must be prepared for battle. Wanda shifted slightly in her seat, a troubled look on her face. She had crossed paths with Doom before and understood the depths of his magical prowess. More than that, she felt a disturbance in the mystical energies around them, a low hum of chaos that resonated with her power. "There's something else," Wanda said softly. "I can feel it in the air. Doom's magic is at work, but it's hidden. I can't explain it, but it feels like he's preparing something bigger than before." Tony looked over at her, his brows furrowed. He trusted Wanda's intuition when it came to magic. Her connection to the mystical realm was unlike anything he could comprehend, and if she felt something was off, he was inclined to believe her. "We need intel," Tony said. "We can't just sit here and wait for Doom to make his move. I've got satellites tracking Latveria's borders, but we need someone on the ground." Natasha's lips curled into a sly smile. "Leave that to me. I've got a few contacts in Eastern Europe. I can get eyes and ears on the ground in Latveria within hours. Doom might think his borders are sealed, but we've gotten past them before." Steve nodded in agreement. "Do it. The rest of us will prepare here. We need to stay sharp. Doom won't give us any warning." As the Avengers broke off to their respective tasks, Tony remained in the central hub, continuing to analyze the data. But something about the signals still nagged at him. They weren't just random pings, they were layered, complex. It was as if Doom was deliberately letting them see pieces of his plan without revealing the whole picture. The thought made Tony uneasy. Doom wasn't the type to show his hand unless he wanted them to see it. Downstairs in the Avengers training facility, Steve and Thor sparred, honing their combat skills. Even as they trained, their minds were on Doom. Thor's strikes were powerful, his hammer crashing against Captain America's shield, sending shockwaves through the air. Each blow was met with Steve's unyielding defense, his shield absorbing the brunt of Thor's godly strength. They exchanged no words. Each knew the gravity of what was coming. Elsewhere, Wanda found herself in the tower's meditation room, her mind reaching out into the unseen realms, trying to sense more of Doom's presence. His magic, dark and ancient, brushed against the edges of her consciousness, but remained elusive. It was as though he was hiding just beyond the veil, watching, waiting. The feeling unsettled her, and she pushed deeper, trying to unravel the threads of the magical disturbance. But all she could find was silence. In Latveria, Doom was already aware of the Avengers' movements. He stood before a massive holographic display, watching as each Avenger went about their preparations. He had allowed them to sense his activity, to detect his signals. It was part of the plan. They were reacting exactly as he predicted. The Avengers were always so eager to play the role of protectors, but in truth, they were simply moving pieces on Doom's board. They had no idea how deeply his plan had already infiltrated their ranks. Back in New York, Natasha's contacts in Eastern Europe came through, and within hours, she had infiltrated a Latverian border town under a false identity. From there, she observed increased military activity, confirming the Avengers' suspicions. Latverian forces were on high alert, but no one seemed to know why. Even the local population appeared more subdued than usual, as if sensing a storm was brewing. Natasha sent her findings back to Avengers Tower, her message concise: Doom's preparing for something big. As night fell over New York, the Avengers reconvened to share their findings. Tony's systems picked up a brief surge of energy from Latveria, brief but unmistakable. It was too powerful to be a simple weapons test. Something had been activated, and whatever it was tied directly to Doom's plans. "It's time to move," Steve said firmly. "We can't wait for Doom to strike first. We need to take the fight to him." Tony agreed, already tapping commands into his suit's control systems. "I've got coordinates on where the signals are strongest. It's deep inside Castle Doom. If we're going in, we need to be ready for anything." Thor gripped Mjolnir tightly, his expression one of steely resolve. "Let Doom prepare all the traps and sorcery he wishes. We shall meet him head-on, and he shall fall as all tyrants must." Wanda, still troubled by the lingering magical disturbances, glanced at the others. Doom isn't just relying on his technology this time. His magic is growing stronger. We need to be careful. He's not the same as before. Steve gave her a reassuring nod. "We'll face him together. Whatever he's planning, we'll stop it." And so, the Avengers prepared for what they knew would be one of their greatest challenges. The stakes were higher than ever, and while they were ready for battle, none of them could fully grasp the scope of Doom's plan. But they would soon find out. Under the cover of darkness, the Avengers boarded the Quinjet, its engines humming quietly as it cut through the night sky, heading straight for Latveria. The mood inside the jet was tense, each hero silently preparing for the inevitable confrontation with Doom. Captain America sat at the helm, his eyes fixed on the map of Latveria's terrain displayed before him. Latveria's defenses were notorious, but Cap had planned their approach meticulously. Tony Stark, in his Iron Man suit, sat nearby, running diagnostics and scanning for any anomalies in the airspace ahead. His helmet visor flickered with streams of data. Everything seemed quiet, too quiet for his liking. As they neared the border of Latveria, a low hum reverberated through the jet, Doom's first line of defense. Stark recognized the energy signature immediately. "Hold on," Tony warned the team. "We've got a disruption field up ahead. Doom's trying to scramble our systems." With a quick motion, Stark activated countermeasures in the Quinjet systems, rerouting power to the jet's shields. A series of pulses emitted from the jet's hull, neutralizing the interference just before they could lose control. The jet's course steadied as it passed over Latveria's eastern mountains, its cloaking systems masking their presence from Latveria's military forces. Wanda Maximoff, sitting towards the rear of the jet, felt the weight of Doom's magic the moment they crossed the border. Latveria pulsed with dark energy, the land itself responding to Doom's will. She closed her eyes, focusing her powers to sense the intricate layers of magical barriers woven into the landscape. Doom wasn't just protecting his castle with technology. Ancient spells guarded the very air they breathed. "This place is saturated with Doom's magic," Wanda said, her voice low but steady. "He's reinforcing everything, his castle, the skies, even the ground. We'll have to be careful." Thor, his hand wrapped firmly around the handle of Mjolnir, nodded in agreement. "Let him summon his sorcery and machines. We shall bring the storm to his gates." As the Quinjet neared Doomstadt, the capital of Latveria, Tony and Natasha ran one final systems check. Stark's HUD highlighted potential threats: ground-based anti-aircraft artillery, energy barriers, and patrols of Doom's robotic sentries, the infamous Doombots. Latveria's military might was impressive, but Stark knew this was only the surface of Doom's defenses. They landed just outside the capital, in a dense forest that cloaked their descent from view. The Quinjet's ramp lowered, and the Avengers stepped out into the cold, crisp air of Latveria. The forest around them was eerily silent, as if the trees themselves were watching. Captain America motioned for the team to move forward, leading them toward the outskirts of Doomstadt. The capital of Latveria was a stark contrast to the surrounding wilderness. Towering spires rose from the earth, casting long shadows across the cobblestone streets. The city was a blend of old-world architecture and futuristic technology. Latverian citizens went about their business in silent reverence, their faces betraying no emotion as they passed beneath the watchful eyes of Doom's banners, which hung from every building. Surveillance drones floated above, scanning the streets, while the ever-present Doombots patrolled in perfect formation. The Avengers moved quickly, avoiding detection as they neared the heavily fortified outer walls of Castle Doom. The castle itself loomed in the distance, a grim fortress of black stone and steel, perched atop a steep cliff. It was as imposing as the man who ruled it, an unassailable citadel designed to repel any invader. As they reached the edge of the city, Tony motioned for the team to stop. His sensors picked up a faint signal. A defense grid was online, one that could detect even the faintest movement. Stark began working on a bypass, his suit interfacing with the grid systems. Within moments, the grid powered down in their immediate vicinity, allowing the team to press forward undetected. "We're in," Tony said, his voice low. But that was just the first layer. Doom's got more tricks up his sleeve. They moved swiftly through the narrow alleyways, making their way toward the base of the cliff. As they neared the castle's outer perimeter, they were met with their first real challenge. Rows of Doombots standing guard, their sensors scanning the horizon. Stark scanned the bots and noticed something odd. "These aren't just standard Doombots," Tony whispered. "Doom's upgraded them with some kind of energy shielding. We can't just blast our way through." Captain America considered their options. "We'll need a diversion. Tony, can you create an EMP blast strong enough to disable their shields but not alert the entire city?" "I'm already on it," Tony said, launching a small drone from his suit. The drone hovered for a moment before releasing a pulse of electromagnetic energy. The Doombots' shields flickered, and in that brief moment, Natasha moved. With lethal precision, the Black Widow dashed forward, disabling one Doombot after another with expertly placed strikes to their vulnerable points. Before the remaining bots could react, Thor summoned the power of Mjolnir, unleashing a bolt of lightning that shattered the group in an explosion of sparks and metal. The way cleared, the Avengers advanced to the base of the cliff. Wanda stepped forward, her hands glowing with crimson energy as she focused on the cliff face. She could feel the layers of magic woven into the stone, ancient runes that protected the castle from intruders. Her powers pulsed outward, unraveling the spellwork just enough for them to pass through undetected. "I've weakened the wards," Wanda said, her breath steady. "But Doom will know we're here soon." They began the ascent, climbing the narrow, jagged path that led to the main gates of Castle Doom. The castle loomed larger with every step, its towering walls covered in the symbols of Latveria's might. The air around them grew colder, charged with magical energy that prickled at their skin. As they reached the gates, Tony scanned the structure, his suit feeding him information on the castle's defenses. The gates were reinforced with a combination of advanced technology and mystic energy, making a direct assault nearly impossible. Before they could make their move, the gates creaked open with a low, ominous groan. The Avengers froze, their senses heightened. From the shadows, a figure emerged, cloaked in the green and silver armor that was unmistakable. Victor Von Doom stepped forward, his presence commanding, his posture regal and unyielding. His eyes glowed faintly beneath his mask as he regarded the Avengers with cold indifference. "Avengers," Doom's voice boomed, metallic and authoritative. "You stand at the threshold of your doom. I have watched your every move, anticipated your every step. Did you truly believe you could breach my domain undetected? Captain America tightened his grip on his shield, stepping forward to face Doom directly. We're here to stop whatever you're planning, Doom. Whatever scheme you've cooked up, it ends now. Doom's laughter echoed through the courtyard, low and mocking. You think yourselves capable of thwarting me, as though you are equals in intellect or power. You are nothing but pawns in a game far beyond your understanding. My plans are already in motion, and soon, the world will see the true might of Doom. With a flick of his wrist, Doom summoned a surge of energy, the ground beneath the Avengers shifting as a massive force field erupted around them, cutting them off from the castle. Stark's sensors flared to life, warning him of the sheer power Doom had unleashed. "Get ready!" Tony shouted as the force field began to pulse with energy. But before they could react, the force field exploded outward, hurling the Avengers backward with a tremendous blast of power. They hit the ground hard, scattered but unbroken. "Now you see the futility of resistance," Doom said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "This is only the beginning." With a wave of his hand, the gates of Castle Doom slammed shut once more, leaving the Avengers outside, forced to regroup as Doom retreated into the depths of his citadel, where the final phase of his plan was already unfolding. As the dust settled, the Avengers pulled themselves to their feet, bruised but undeterred. They exchanged glances, the weight of the task ahead settling heavily on their shoulders. "We're not done yet," Steve said, his voice steady. "We're going in and we're taking Doom down." In the depths of Castle Doom, Victor Von Doom stood before a massive control console, his armored fingers gliding over its surface as he activated a series of intricate commands. Ancient symbols flickered across the holographic display, intermingling with advanced technological schematics, a fusion of magic and science that only Doom could master. His eyes glowed with the power of the arcane, his mind sharp and focused. The Avengers had come, just as he had anticipated, and now the time had come to show them the futility of their defiance. Below the castle, the Avengers regrouped, standing amidst the debris from Doom's earlier attack. The force field that had knocked them down had dissipated, leaving the air charged with residual energy. Captain America was the first to stand, his shield at the ready. Tony Stark's suit flickered with warning signals, but he was already recalibrating his systems, recovering from the blast. The others followed, dusting themselves off as they prepared for the next phase of their assault. Wanda Maximoff, still feeling the lingering hum of Doom's magic in the air, frowned. "There's something more happening here. Doom's magic. It's different this time. Stronger. He's channeling something ancient. Whatever it is, we're going to have to face it head on," Steve replied, his gaze steely. "We're not letting him complete whatever plan he started." Tony's sensors picked up a sudden spike in energy deep within the castle, and his face darkened. "I'm detecting massive power readings from beneath the castle. It's off the charts. If Doom's got some kind of superweapon, we need to shut it down now." The team moved swiftly, making their way toward a hidden entrance Tony had pinpointed on the castle's exterior. They knew Doom's castle was a labyrinth of traps and automated defenses, but this was their only chance to stop whatever catastrophic plan Doom had set in motion. As they approached the wall, Natasha quickly disarmed a series of sensors and energy barriers, allowing them access to a narrow corridor that wound its way into the heart of the castle. Inside, the walls pulsed with an eerie green light, ancient runes etched into the stone, radiating dark magical energy. Wanda could feel the enchantments strengthening as they moved deeper. Doom wasn't just relying on his technology this time. He was harnessing the full power of the dark arts, and it was growing with every step they took. As they advanced, A sudden tremor shook the ground beneath their feet. The walls rumbled as cracks formed in the stone, and from the shadows, a new wave of Doombots emerged, their eyes glowing with malevolent red light. These weren't the standard Doombots the Avengers had fought before. Doom had enhanced them with magical wards, making them more resilient, more dangerous. Thor stepped forward, gripping Mjolnir tightly. "These metal warriors are nothing before the might of Asgard," he roared, charging forward with the fury of the storm. His hammer crackled with lightning as he slammed it into the nearest Doombot, sending it flying into the wall. The impact was deafening, and bolts of electricity surged through the remaining bots, momentarily stunning them. But these Doombots did not fall easily. Their magical enhancements shielded them from total destruction. As they regrouped, their mechanical limbs twisted and reformed, repairing damage with unnatural speed. They advanced again, their energy weapons charging. Captain America moved in alongside Thor, using his shield to deflect a barrage of energy blasts. "They're tougher than before," Steve called out, barely avoiding a strike from one of the Doombot's energy blades. "We need to break through their shields." Wanda raised her hands, her eyes glowing with red energy as she focused on the magical wards protecting the Doombots. With a surge of her chaos magic, she unraveled the spells that Doom had woven into their metallic bodies. The shields flickered, and with a final burst of energy, they shattered. "Now!" Wanda shouted. Tony and Natasha wasted no time. Stark unleashed a barrage of repulsor blasts, tearing through the weakened Doombots with surgical precision. Natasha darted between the bots, using her Widow's Bites to disable their core systems. Within moments, the Doombots lay in pieces, their once impenetrable defenses broken. As the last of the bots fell, a deep, resonant voice echoed through the corridor, shaking the very air around them. "You are persistent, Avengers," Doom's voice boomed. "But persistence alone will not save you from what is to come." Suddenly, the walls of the corridor began to shift and warp, ancient mechanisms hidden within the stone springing to life. The floor split open beneath the Avengers, and they barely had time to react as a massive platform descended, dropping them into the dark heart of the castle. They fell into a vast chamber, its ceiling impossibly high and lined with towering columns, each inscribed with ancient Latvian runes. In the center of the chamber stood a massive structure, an enormous arcane device, pulsing with energy that crackled in the air. Runes hovered around it, rotating in complex patterns, as streams of both magic and technology converged into its core. Doom stood before the device, his cloak billowing as the energies of the arcane and the scientific swirled around him. His presence was larger than life, a terrifying fusion of man, machine, and sorcerer. His mask glowed with power, and his gauntlet hands crackled with energy. Doom's gaze swept over the Avengers with cold contempt. "You are too late," Doom said, his voice dripping with malice. "You stand before the final instrument of your demise. This device will channel the power of the Earth's ley lines, amplifying my magic and technology to levels beyond your comprehension. When I activate it, I will have the power to reshape reality itself." Tony's eyes widened as he scanned the device. "That thing, it's pulling in energy from the planet's core. If Doom activates it, he could tear apart the fabric of reality." Captain America raised his shield, his resolve unwavering. "We're not going to let that happen, Doom." Doom raised his hand, summoning a torrent of magical energy that surged toward the Avengers like a tidal wave. Thor met it head-on, Mjolnir blazing with lightning as he deflected the attack. The ground shook violently, and arcs of energy lashed out from the device, striking the columns and sending debris crashing down. Wanda's hands glowed with red light as she conjured a protective barrier, shielding her teammates from the falling rubble. But even she could feel the immense power radiating from Doom's machine. It was a raw, untamed force, unlike anything she had ever encountered before. That device, it's drawing from every ley line on the planet, Wanda said, her voice strained. If we don't stop it, Doom will have unlimited power. Tony flew into action, his suit's repulsors blasting toward the arcane machine. He fired a series of precision shots at the device's core, but each blast was absorbed by the swirling magical energy surrounding it. Doom had fortified the machine with both his technological genius and his mastery of the arcane. "I can't get through it," Tony shouted. "That thing's shielded by layers of magic." Doom watched their struggle with a cold smirk. "You see now the futility of your efforts. My genius is beyond your reach, and soon, all will bow before Doom." But Captain America wasn't about to give up. He charged forward, his shield deflecting stray bolts of energy as he closed the distance between himself and Doom. With a powerful leap, he hurled his shield directly at the device's central core, aiming for the one weak spot he had identified. The shield struck true, embedding itself in the machine's outer layer and disrupting the delicate flow of energy for a brief moment. Doom's eyes flared with anger. "You dare to challenge Doom in his own domain?" With a wave of his hand, Doom summoned a massive blast of energy that knocked Captain America back, sending him crashing into the ground. Thor rushed to his side, raising Mjolnir high as he prepared to strike Doom with all the power of the storm. But Doom was ready. He raised both hands, his fingers crackling with raw magical power. A circle of arcane runes appeared beneath Thor, locking him in place. Before Thor could break free, Doom unleashed a torrent of energy that engulfed him, driving him to his knees. As the battle raged on, the machine behind Doom began to glow brighter, its power reaching critical levels. Streams of energy spiraled upward, piercing the sky above the castle. Reality itself began to ripple and distort as the fabric of the universe bent to Doom's will. Wanda, sensing that they were running out of time, concentrated all her power on the arcane machine. Her hands burned with crimson energy as she attempted to unravel the magical protections Doom had woven into it. But the machine's defenses were formidable, and she struggled to break through. "We need to overload the machine," Wanda shouted over the din of battle. "If we can disrupt its energy flow, we might be able to stop it." Tony nodded, flying up to one of the machine's energy conduits. With a series of rapid calculations, he targeted the weakest point in the machine's structure. "I'll divert its energy. Get ready." With a blast of repulsor energy, Tony struck the conduit, sending a surge of unstable power through the machine. The device flickered, its once steady pulse becoming erratic as sparks of energy shot out in all directions. Doom's eyes flared with fury. "No, you will not destroy my creation." But the damage had been done. The machine's power became unstable, and with a deafening crack, the entire structure began to collapse. The Avengers stood in the ruins of Doom's chamber, their victory over the machine seeming hollow. The room crackled with residual energy, the air thick with the scent of burning metal and scorched stone. The arcane device lay in shattered pieces, its once overwhelming power now reduced to flickering sparks. But Doom was nowhere to be seen. His escape had been swift and unnoticed in the chaos of the collapsing machine. The team's exhaustion was palpable. Thor leaned heavily on Mjolnir, his Asgardian strength diminished after the brutal battle. Tony Stark's armor was scorched and dented, systems barely holding together after the relentless attacks. Wanda's hands trembled from the strain of containing Doom's magic, and Captain America's stoic expression hid the weight of the burden he carried. The fight wasn't over, and each of them knew it. Steve Rogers was the first to speak, his voice calm but firm. "We can't stop now. Doom's still out there, and we have no idea what his next move is." Tony wiped the sweat from his brow, his HUD flickering. "The problem is we don't know where he went. My sensors are scrambled. Whatever energy that device released has thrown off all readings. We're basically blind." Thor, regaining his composure, stepped forward. "Doom will not remain hidden for long. His pride will drive him to strike again. He always seeks to prove his superiority." As they debated their next move, tensions within the team began to surface. The battle with Doom had pushed them to their limits, and the pressure of constant fighting was starting to take its toll. Natasha, leaning against the wall with a hand pressed to her side, broke the silence with an edge in her voice. "Maybe if we had a better plan going in, we wouldn't be standing in this mess." Her eyes flicked toward Steve. Charging into Latveria without more intel, this was reckless. Steve frowned, his voice low but resolute. "We didn't have a choice, Natasha. Doom was about to activate that machine. If we had waited any longer, maybe we should have come at him with more than brute force." She interrupted. "This is Doom we're talking about. He outmaneuvered us at every step. And now we're stuck in his territory, with no idea where he is or what's coming next." The room grew tense. Wanda, still sensing the lingering magic in the air, hesitated before adding softly, "She's right. There's something about Doom's magic this time that feels different. We underestimated it." Tony's frustration boiled over. "Look, we all knew this was going to be a mess. But standing around blaming each other isn't helping." He turned toward Steve, his tone sharp. "But maybe Natasha has a point. We need more than just fists and shields right now." Steve's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. "We work as a team. That's always how we've won. But if we start second-guessing each other in the middle of a fight, we're going to lose. Doom thrives on division. We can't let him get inside our heads." But the cracks in the team were already beginning to show. Wanda's doubt about her abilities to counter Doom's magic weighed heavily on her. Natasha's criticism of their approach added to the growing sense that perhaps they had walked into Doom's trap too easily. And Tony, despite his bravado, was privately questioning his own decision-making, knowing that his tech couldn't solve every problem. In the midst of this rising tension, an alarm sounded from Tony's suit. Stark immediately accessed the data, and his face paled. "I'm picking up something. It's a massive energy surge, not far from here." Steve's instincts kicked in. "Doom." Tony nodded grimly. "It's him, or something he's set in motion. It's coming from the outskirts of the capital. We need to move. Now." The Avengers readied themselves, but the unspoken tension hung in the air. As they left the ruins of the chamber, the group felt less unified, each member carrying their own doubts and frustrations. They arrived at the outskirts of Latveria's capital, a once bustling city now deserted under Doom's iron rule. In the distance, a towering structure pulsed with energy. It was an older building, a remnant of Latveria's ancient past, now repurposed by Doom for his nefarious goals. The structure hummed with the same arcane energy they had felt earlier, indicating that whatever Doom had planned wasn't over. The Avengers moved cautiously toward the building, but as they approached, a powerful force field sprang to life around it, shimmering with a blend of technology and magic. Tony immediately began scanning it, trying to find a way through. "This thing is on another level," Tony muttered, his fingers working furiously on the controls of his suit. "It's not just a force field. It's a magical barrier too. I can't break it alone." Wanda stepped forward, her hands glowing with red energy. "Let me help. I can weaken the magic. But you'll need to take down the tech once I do." The plan seemed sound, But before they could execute it, more Doombots arrived, these ones heavily armed and augmented with new weaponry. The battle erupted once more, but this time the Avengers weren't as synchronized as before. Steve fought valiantly, deflecting blasts with his shield, but he found himself constantly looking over his shoulder to see if the others were keeping up. Tony was focused on trying to bypass the force field while fending off the Doombots, and Wanda's concentration was split between the magic of the barrier and the fight at hand. Natasha and Thor fought side by side, but there was a clear tension between them. Natasha's criticism still hung in the air, and Thor, though loyal to the team, seemed distracted by the internal conflict brewing. Every blow they landed on the Doombots felt harder, as if the weight of their division was slowing them down. Amidst the chaos, Doom appeared once more, standing atop the structure, his cloak billowing as he surveyed the battlefield. His voice echoed through the air, dripping with disdain. "How predictable! You squabble among yourselves while I seize victory. You cannot defeat me, for you are not united. This is your downfall." His words stung, and they struck at the heart of the Avengers' growing rift. Doom knew their weaknesses and had exploited them to perfection. As the Doombots pressed their attack, the team's lack of cohesion became painfully clear. Every action felt disjointed, every plan frayed at the edges. In a final act of desperation, Tony called out to the team, "We need to focus. If we don't pull together now, Doom wins." Wanda unleashed a surge of chaos magic, momentarily disrupting the Doombots and weakening the magical barrier. "Now, Tony!" she yelled. Tony seized the opportunity, unleashing a powerful blast from his suit's repulsors, shattering the technological aspect of the force field. The barrier flickered and then collapsed, leaving the structure vulnerable. But before they could advance, Doom raised his hands, and with a wave of energy, sent a shockwave that knocked the Avengers back. The ground trembled as the building surged with power, tendrils of arcane energy reaching up toward the sky. "You are too late," Doom sneered. "The final phase has already begun." As the Avengers struggled to regroup, the weight of their internal divisions became unbearable. The team was fracturing under the pressure of Doom's relentless assault, and now, with his plan nearing completion, their unity hung by a thread. With the fate of Latveria, and perhaps the world, at stake, the Avengers faced their greatest challenge yet. Not just Doom's power, but their own crumbling alliance. The Avengers stood on the brink of defeat. Latveria's skies were darkened with the growing storm of arcane and technological forces unleashed by Dr. Doom. The energy radiating from the tower surged, crackling with a mix of science and sorcery. As Doom's plan continued to unfold, exhaustion weighed heavily on the team. They had been battling for hours, with no sign of Doom relenting. However, amidst the rising chaos, something far more insidious was brewing within their own ranks. The ground trembled beneath their feet as Doom's tower pulsed with life, casting an eerie glow over the desolate landscape. Captain America, battered but unbroken, gathered the team together. His voice was steady, but the strain was evident in his tone. "We need a plan, and fast. We've hit Doom hard, but whatever he's doing in that tower, this is just the beginning." Tony Stark, his armor sparking from damage, gritted his teeth. "We're running out of time. If we can't stop that machine, it's game over." But we're not exactly in top form here. Natasha Romanoff scanned the horizon, her gaze lingering on the distant, imposing structure. "We've fought Doom before, but this time it's different. He's always one step ahead, like he's been expecting us to play right into his hands." As they strategized, the unspoken tension between them simmered just below the surface. The cracks in their unity had been widening for some time, and now, in the heart of Latveria, those fractures were about to come to light. Wanda Maximoff, standing at a distance from the rest, felt the weight of guilt and doubt pressing down on her. The strain of countering Doom's powerful magic had taken a toll, and the whispers of self-doubt grew louder with each passing moment. The team moved cautiously toward the base of the tower, their footsteps echoing across the barren streets of Latveria's capital. Doom's forces, though momentarily driven back, still lurked in the shadows, and the threat of his return loomed large. They knew they had to act swiftly before Doom unleashed the final phase of his plan. But as they approached, something unexpected happened. A soft voice broke the silence. "Maybe we shouldn't go any further." It was Wanda, her tone hesitant but filled with something more: doubt, fear, and a sense of something unspoken. She looked toward the rest of the team, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "Maybe Doom is right." The words hit like a thunderclap, reverberating through the team. Steve froze, his eyes narrowing as he turned to face her. "What are you talking about, Wanda?" Wanda hesitated, her hands trembling slightly as she clenched them into fists. "He's not just using magic. He's harnessing something far more powerful. Something I can feel deep in my core. What if we're not meant to stop him? What if the world needs this? What if we're the ones who are wrong?" The team stood in stunned silence. Tony's face twisted into a scowl, disbelief evident in his voice. "You can't seriously believe that. Doom's a tyrant, Wanda. He doesn't care about anyone but himself." Wanda shook her head, her eyes distant as if she were listening to something beyond their understanding. "You don't know what it's like. I've been inside his magic. I felt what he's trying to do. It's more than power. It's control. And maybe the world needs that kind of control. Maybe chaos needs to end." Thor, sensing the gravity of Wanda's words, stepped forward. Doom's rule would be one of oppression, not order. His control would crush the will of all living beings. But Wanda's gaze hardened, and her next words cut deep. "Maybe that's what's necessary. Maybe we need to stop fighting and let him reshape the world. Maybe he can succeed where we've failed." The divide between them was now laid bare. Steve approached Wanda cautiously, his shield lowered as he tried to reason with her. "Wanda, you're stronger than this. You've always been stronger than the doubts that try to take over. Doom's manipulating you, using your magic against you. We need you to help us stop him." But the seeds of betrayal had already been planted. Wanda's doubts, fed by the immense power she had been trying to counter, had taken root. She took a step back from Steve, her fingers glowing faintly with red energy. "You don't understand. You never did." The tension in the air was thick, and for a moment, no one moved. It was Natasha who finally broke the silence. Her voice was quiet, almost resigned. "Wanda, don't do this. We're a team. We've always found a way through." But the Scarlet Witch had made her choice. With a flick of her wrist, she unleashed a burst of chaos magic that threw the Avengers back, knocking them to the ground. The betrayal was complete. Wanda stood over them, her expression a mixture of sorrow and resolve. "I'm sorry, but I can't let you stop him." Before anyone could react, a figure appeared at the top of the tower. Doom himself, his eyes gleaming with triumph, surveyed the scene below. He had anticipated this. He had known that Wanda's fragile state of mind would be his key to victory. His voice echoed through the air, filled with both pride and condescension. "You see, Avengers, your greatest strength was always your unity, and now it crumbles before my genius." Steve struggled to his feet, deflecting the surge of Wanda's magic with his shield. His heart pounded, not just from the battle but from the realization that one of their own had turned against them. "We're not done yet, Doom." Doom's laughter echoed, cold and mocking. "You are. You've already lost. Even now, as you stand here, divided and broken, my plan advances. You are too late. Wanda stood beside Doom now, her loyalty to the team shattered. Her mind was clouded with confusion, her power feeding into Doom's machine, amplifying its energy. The tower pulsed with even greater intensity, drawing power from both the arcane and technological realms. Tony's voice crackled through the comms. "Steve, we can't take much more of this. The tower's about to blow, and if Wanda's feeding her magic into it, there's no telling what kind of catastrophe we're looking at." Steve knew they were out of time. "Then we stop it, whatever it takes." But as they regrouped, the team realized they were facing an impossible choice. Wanda's power was now interwoven with Doom's machine, and any direct attack on the tower would mean risking her life. And yet, if they didn't act, Doom's plan would come to fruition, potentially endangering the entire world. The betrayal had left them fractured, unsure of their next move. Doom had turned their greatest asset into their most dangerous enemy, and now, with the clock ticking down, the Avengers were faced with a harrowing decision. One that could determine the fate of their team and the world they had sworn to protect. Doom's tower stood as a dark sentinel against the swirling storm that raged above Latveria. The building had become a focal point of twisted energy, a confluence of arcane power and cutting-edge technology. The Avengers, their spirits dampened by recent betrayals and their bodies battered from relentless combat, faced their greatest challenge yet. Wanda Maximoff, now under Doom's thrall, was an imposing figure at the center of this maelstrom. Her eyes glowed with a sinister, otherworldly light, and her hands wove complex patterns in the air, channeling the chaotic energy Doom had harnessed. She stood beside Doom at the apex of his tower, their combined powers feeding into the immense device that loomed over the city. As the tower pulsed with energy, Doom's plan reached its final stage. The device was a complex amalgamation of magic and technology, designed to manipulate both reality and the fabric of space itself. It was Doom's magnum opus, a creation that would allow him to reshape the world to his will. The Avengers, battered and weary, had regrouped at a distance from the tower. The battle had taken a heavy toll on them, both physically and emotionally. The betrayal of Wanda weighed heavily on their hearts, a deep wound that threatened to fracture their unity further. Yet, they knew that the fate of the world rested on their shoulders. Captain America, with his shield marred by battle, took charge of the group. "We need to get inside that tower. Doom's device is nearing completion, and if we don't stop it now, everything will be lost." Thor nodded in agreement, his Asgardian strength and resolve unwavering despite his exhaustion. Doom's machine is formidable, but he is vulnerable. If we can disrupt his control over Wanda, we might stand a chance. Tony Stark, whose armor was battered but still functional, was deep in thought. His mind raced with calculations and possibilities. "I'll work on a way to breach the tower's defenses. It's shielded by both magic and technology, so it won't be easy. We'll need a coordinated assault." Natasha Romanoff, her agility and skills undiminished despite the strain, assessed their situation. "We have to be careful. Doom's expecting us to try and stop him. He'll have traps and defenses set up." Wanda's magic had rendered the tower nearly impervious to their usual methods of attack. The energy field surrounding it was a dazzling display of shifting colors and patterns, a barrier that repelled physical and magical assault alike. The Avengers would need to outwit Doom and find a way to neutralize the field before they could reach him. As the team prepared their approach, Doom stood atop his tower, basking in the fruits of his labor. His plan was nearing completion, and he could already feel the power of the device resonating with his own immense intellect and will. With Wanda's magic fueling the machine, Doom was on the verge of achieving his grand vision of global domination and remaking the world in his image. Doom's voice reverberated through the air, filled with triumphant satisfaction. "Behold, the culmination of my genius. With this device, I shall reshape reality itself. The world will be purged of its chaos and fall under my unyielding rule." The Age of Doom has begun. The sky above the tower was torn asunder by bolts of lightning, a manifestation of the raw energy being channeled through the device. The ground quaked, and the air crackled with electrical tension. Latveria's capital lay in ruins, a grim testament to the power Doom wielded. As the Avengers made their move, Tony Stark's ingenuity came to the forefront. He had developed a series of specialized drones and devices designed to disrupt both magical and technological systems. With a coordinated effort, the team launched their assault. The drones buzzed around the tower, emitting pulses of energy meant to interfere with the force field's integrity. Wanda, under Doom's influence, stood as a formidable barrier. Her magic surged with uncontrollable power, reacting violently to any attempt to breach the defenses. Each blast of energy from the drones was met with a counterstrike from Wanda's chaotic forces, creating a dazzling, deadly dance of light and shadow. Despite their efforts, the Avengers found themselves at a disadvantage. Doom had anticipated their tactics and had fortified the tower's defenses accordingly. Each step they took toward the tower was met with fierce resistance, and the strain of the battle began to wear on them. Inside the tower, Doom's focus was absolute. His gauntlets crackled with energy as he manipulated the controls of his device, ensuring that every part of his plan was executed flawlessly. The air around him shimmered with raw power as he prepared to activate the final sequence. Wanda's internal struggle was visible in her strained expression. Though her power was a crucial part of Doom's scheme, a part of her still battled against the control he exerted. In moments of clarity, her eyes flickered with a glimmer of her true self, but each time, the overpowering influence of Doom's magic forced her back into compliance. The Avengers, despite their struggles, pressed on. Captain America led the charge, using his shield to deflect blasts and protect his teammates. Thor wielded Mjolnir with renewed vigor, channeling lightning to counter Doom's energy attacks. Natasha's acrobatics and precision strikes provided crucial support, while Tony's technological expertise worked tirelessly to breach the tower's defenses. As the Avengers reached the base of the tower, they were met with a new threat. Doom's enhanced Doombots, now equipped with advanced weaponry and fortified with magical protections, descended upon them. The battle was fierce and unrelenting. The Doombots were a relentless tide of metal and magic, attacking with precision and overwhelming force. Captain America fought valiantly, his shield clashing against the Doombots' weapons. Thor unleashed bolts of lightning, scattering their ranks, while Tony used his suit's arsenal to provide cover and firepower. Natasha moved with lethal grace, taking down Doombots with targeted strikes. Despite their best efforts, the Avengers were unable to make significant headway. The combined might of Doom's machine and the fortified defenses created an almost insurmountable barrier. Doom's plan was reaching its zenith, and his vision of global domination loomed closer with every passing moment. The climactic moment approached as Doom's device began its final activation sequence. The machine whirred and pulsed, its energy reaching critical levels. The sky above the tower lit up with an otherworldly glow, signaling that Doom's plan was nearing completion. Doom, standing triumphant atop his creation, looked down upon the Avengers with a mixture of contempt and satisfaction. "You have fought valiantly, Avengers, but your efforts are in vain. The rise of Doom is inevitable. Witness the dawn of a new era." The Avengers, battered and weary, faced their ultimate challenge. Doom's vision was almost realized, and they were running out of time. The fate of the world rested on their shoulders, and their next move would determine whether they could stop Doom's grand design or be doomed to live under his iron rule. The once proud city of Latveria lay in ruin, its streets now a maze of shattered buildings and scorched earth. The sky above was a tumultuous swirl of dark clouds, streaked with jagged bolts of lightning and swirling tendrils of magical energy. The air crackled with the lingering power of Doom's device, a testament to the immense forces that had been unleashed upon the world. The Avengers, weary and battered, stood at the edge of the devastation, their hope and resolve hanging by a thread. Captain America, his iconic shield bearing the marks of countless battles, surveyed the scene with a heavy heart. His uniform was tattered, and his face bore the grime and scars of relentless combat. Yet, his eyes remained steely and unyielding. The city's desolation was a stark reminder of the stakes at hand. Doom's grand plan, if left unchecked, would have reshaped the world into his vision of tyranny. Even now, with the tower still looming ominously in the distance, the threat was far from over. Thor, the mighty Asgardian warrior, stood beside Captain America. His armor, once resplendent, was now dented and scorched from battle. Mjolnir, though still in his grasp, was heavy with the weight of exhaustion. Despite the toll of battle, Thor's resolve remained as steadfast as ever. He looked out over the wasteland, his eyes reflecting the stormy heavens above. "We have faced many trials, but this is our greatest challenge," he said, his voice resonant and full of grim determination. "We cannot falter now. We must find a way to stop Doom." Iron Man, his advanced armor bearing numerous scratches and dents, was hunched over a portable console. His usually sleek and polished suit was now a testament to the ferocity of the recent battles. Sparks and small explosions flickered intermittently from various parts of his suit, a reminder of the damage he had sustained. Tony Stark's face was hidden behind his helmet, but the strain of the situation was palpable. He worked furiously, his mind racing through calculations and schematics. "I'm almost there," he muttered, his voice muffled but urgent. "The tower's defenses are formidable, but if I can just bypass this last security protocol." Natasha Romanoff, her red hair tousled and her body showing the toll of numerous skirmishes, moved with a practiced grace despite her fatigue. Her costume was torn and dirted, but her eyes remained sharp and focused. She scanned the surroundings, her mind racing with tactical considerations. "We need to find a way inside the tower," she said, her voice calm and resolute. "If we can disrupt Doom's control over the device, we might be able to neutralize the threat." The Avengers were a fractured group, their unity tested by the recent betrayals and the relentless onslaught of Doom's forces. Wanda Maximoff's fall to Doom's control had struck at the very heart of the team. Her immense power had been twisted to serve Doom's will, leaving the Avengers reeling. The emotional and physical toll of the battle was evident on each member's face. Despite this, they were united by a singular purpose: to stop Doom and save the world. As they regrouped, a new and unexpected presence emerged from the shadows. Wanda Maximoff, her appearance disheveled and her eyes clouded with a mixture of pain and determination, stepped into view. Her once formidable aura was now tinged with a desperate struggle. The magic that had once served Doom now flickered erratically around her, evidence of her internal conflict. "Wanda!" Steve Rogers called out, his voice a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Can you help us?" Wanda's gaze met Steve's, and for a fleeting moment, the chaotic magic surrounding her seemed to wane. Her hands trembled as she fought to regain control over her own abilities. "I'm fighting him," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the tumult of the ruined city. "But I don't have much time." Doom's control is strong, but I need to act before it's too late. The Avengers knew they had to act quickly. The device Doom had constructed was nearing its final activation, its hum growing louder and more menacing. The tower, once a symbol of Doom's ambition, now radiated a dangerous and volatile energy. The Avengers' previous attempts to breach its defenses had been thwarted by a combination of advanced technology and powerful magic. Yet, with Wanda's help, a glimmer of hope emerged. Wanda, though exhausted, focused her remaining strength on unraveling the magical barriers that had kept the Avengers at bay. Her hands moved in intricate patterns, casting spells of disruption that created openings in the device's defenses. The barriers, once impenetrable, now showed signs of weakening as Wanda's magic clashed with Doom's enchantments. Captain America, seizing the opportunity, rallied the team for a final assault. His voice, though strained, carried the weight of unwavering leadership. Now's our chance. We need to get to the core of the machine and shut it down. The Avengers pressed forward, their combined efforts creating a coordinated attack against the remaining Doombots and other defenses. Tony Stark, having finally bypassed the tower's security systems, launched a series of drones designed to disrupt the power flow to the device. The drones whizzed through the air, emitting pulses of energy that interfered with the machine's operation. Thor, wielding Mjolnir with the last vestiges of his strength, unleashed bolts of lightning to scatter the remaining Doombots. Each strike was precise and powerful, clearing a path for his teammates. Natasha, moving with lethal efficiency, used her agility and combat skills to neutralize the threats that emerged from the shadows. The Avengers' coordinated assault created a critical breach in the tower's defenses. As they advanced, the device's core came into view. It was a complex array of arcane runes and technological components, a testament to Doom's twisted genius. Captain America, with a determined expression, approached the core. He could see the intricate mechanisms that powered the device, a web of magic and technology interwoven in a way that defied conventional understanding. With a swift and decisive strike, Captain America used his shield to hit the core. The impact resonated through the tower, causing the machine to tremble and emit bursts of uncontrolled energy. The once steady hum of the device turned into a chaotic cacophony, and the power fluctuations began to spiral out of control. Doom, sensing the shift in the balance, turned his attention back to the Avengers. His face twisted in anger and frustration as he saw his plans unraveling. "You dare defy me?" he roared, his voice filled with a mix of rage and desperation. "This is far from over. You will all be swept aside." The confrontation between Doom and Wanda intensified. Doom, wielding powerful magical energy, unleashed a torrent of attacks. Wanda, struggling against his control, fought back with equal ferocity. The air around them crackled with raw energy as their powers clashed in a dazzling display of light and shadow. The Avengers, witnessing the epic struggle, pressed on with their efforts. The energy of the device continued to build, threatening to reach critical levels. Tony Stark, his armor sparking with intermittent bursts of power, worked furiously to initiate a series of countermeasures designed to stabilize the machine. In a final, desperate bid, Wanda unleashed a powerful burst of magic that severed Doom's connection to the device. The tower shook violently as the arcane and technological energies collided in a cataclysmic explosion of light and sound. The shockwave of the explosion rippled through the citadel, sending debris flying and shaking the very foundations of the structure. The Avengers were thrown back by the force of the explosion, their surroundings enveloped in a blinding flash. The sky above, once dark and stormy, was now illuminated by the explosion's aftereffects. As the light began to fade and the dust settled, the tower lay in ruins, its once imposing structure reduced to shattered remnants. The Avengers, battered and bruised, slowly regained their bearings. The devastation around them was a sobering reminder of the price they had paid. Captain America, his shield now a symbol of hard-fought victory, looked around at the wreckage with a mixture of relief and sorrow. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but the world lay in ruins, a stark reminder of the battle they had endured. Wanda, her strength spent, collapsed to the ground. Her appearance was a stark contrast to the formidable figure she had once been. Her eyes were filled with tears, her face etched with exhaustion and remorse. Captain America approached her, offering a hand of support. "You did well, Wanda," he said, his voice gentle but filled with gratitude. "You helped us stop Doom. We owe you a debt of thanks." Wanda looked up at him, her expression a mixture of relief and sorrow. "I'm so sorry for everything," she said, her voice trembling. "I was lost, and I couldn't control it. But I'm grateful you didn't give up on me." The Avengers gathered around, their faces reflecting the strain of the battle and the relief of their victory. The unity that had been tested so severely now seemed to strengthen in the face of adversity. They had faced their darkest hour and emerged victorious, but the path ahead would be one of healing and rebuilding. As they stood amidst the ruins of Latveria, they looked toward the horizon with a renewed sense of hope. The world had been spared from Doom's vision, but the scars of the battle would remain. The Avengers had proven that even in the darkest moments, hope could be found and courage could prevail. Their shared struggle had forged a bond stronger than ever, and they stood united, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.